the name start? I know the story because I was there and I remember hearing the story at the
Yeah,
tryouts. But
yeah.
tell the beautiful people where the name Cheeseburger came from.
So there's two stories. There's like the Ring of Honor story, like when it happened on TV, and then there's the actual real life story that kind of like preceded that. So the first story is when I first started training at the Ring of Honor school. I started in 2010. I was 17 years old. About like I was coming out still in high school at the time, like 117, 120 pounds, starting to train to be a pro wrestler. My first road trip, we're putting the ring in the truck, and Rhett Titus comes. Rhett Titus, who's a fantastic friend of mine, a tremendous wrestler. Rhett, absolutely amazing. But first time meeting him. So 17-year-old me, I see Rhett Titus. I've seen him on Ring of Honor TV. And he's one of the veterans of the school coming to help out. And I go up to him. I say, "Hey, nice to meet you." And he kind of looks me up and down. And the first thing he says to me is like, "Man, you need a cheeseburger." And everyone pops, all the students, all the older students like pop. And Grizzly Redwood is like, that's it. That's going to be your nickname from now on. Because all the new students at the time had nicknames. So their plan for me to gain weight, my first road trip was every time we stopped at a rest stop, I would have to eat a cheeseburger. And that was kind of like the running joke. So people in the Ring of Honor locker room just got to know me as Cheeseburger. No one knew my real name for like a long time. Everyone just knew me as Cheeseburger. And then January 2013, there was a segment with Charlie Haas and the Du Burns Arena in Baltimore, and there was like 800 people in the arena TV taping. Charlie Haas is in the ring, big heel, cutting the promo. The fans are throwing toilet paper, trash in the ring. The segment was supposed to be I'm the ringside guy. I'm right ringside guy. I'm pulling the toilet paper out, cleaning up the ring. Charlie Haas starts yelling at me on the mic, and then he beats me up, and that's the end of the segment. So what happens is I get in the ring, we start the segment. He starts yelling at me in the ring. He calls me into the ring. He starts cutting the promo on me, and he asks me what's my name, and I'm just like standing there. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna call you Cheeseburger. You're gonna name Cheeseburger, and everyone in the arena starts chanting Cheeseburger. It's just an offhand comment, and we didn't plan it or anything. He just said it because it was funny, and the crowd started chanting it. And he beats me up, and I get to the back, and Delirious comes up to me, who's our boss at Ring of Honor. He goes, "Yeah, man, I think we might have something with this cheeseburger thing." And right away, I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to be called cheeseburger." So, I hated it at first, but I eventually grew to love it. But yeah, those are the two stories of how they merged together.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
going
And
to
man,
ask you, man, how did you actually feel about being,
Oh,
called the
I hate
name
it.
Cheeseburger?
No, I hate it. I hate it. It took me a long time to get comfortable with it. Because like everyone wants to be like a cool wrestler. They wants to be called Cheeseburger. But once like I saw how the Ring of Honor fan base really grew to embrace it and how much they loved it, and once I kind of started to figure out like who I was as a person, I really started to embrace it more. And I was really, in hindsight, I was really like thankful that the fans embraced it so much, and that especially in Baltimore where it was like born at. Like I would go back to Baltimore and then it would be huge reactions to just because the fans there, the Ring of Honor fans that came regularly, they knew that that was the place that Cheeseburger was born, and I was always like, they always got a good reaction there.
Oh man, can you talk about being in starting, getting your start in Ring of Honor, and then uh, having a match on Ring of Honor under Tony Khan? Can you talk about those two different regimes of Ring of Honor?
Yeah, so I was in the original Ring of Honor from the time I was 17 to about 29. So from 2010 until it was purchased, and all of our contracts were voided in about, I believe the company was bought in 2013, correct? 2012, 2022? 2020, no, 2022.
22.
Yeah, 2022 was purchased. So from 2010 to 2021, so 11 years I was in Ring of Honor, and that was first as a student, and then eventually as a member of the roster. So I literally grew up in Ring of Honor in that locker room. I grew up from 17 to 28 years old, and I saw a lot of different changes to Ring of Honor. And went through a lot of different managements, different. I've seen the company go from being on HD Net to where no one can watch it, to being on Destination America and being on Sinclair Broadcasting. And I see that's on the company under Kerry Silken prosper and then almost go out of business, and then Sinclair buying us and be owned by a corporation. So it's all the stuff we got to do in New Japan, got to do Madison Square Garden. So it was awesome to just be there for all of that. And I don't think people really realized how long I was actually there in that company. And yeah, just being there as a student and training, it was absolutely wonderful. I'm so thankful that I started in that environment because it was the best training environment and the best locker room that I could have asked for as a young wrestler to grow up in. Just getting to be around people like the Briscoes and Christopher Daniels and Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, El Generico, Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, like just getting to be in that locker room, like you have to be good to be in that locker room and to make it on that roster. And I was very thankful to be in that environment that pushed me to be better. And yeah, it was by far some of the best years of my career. I missed the main thing I miss about the current Ring of Honor is absolutely fantastic as well in its own right. I mainly miss just the camaraderie of that locker room. Everyone's kind of spread out now. We're all in different companies. Some people are new Ring of Honor, some people went to whether it be WWE or TNA or whatever it may be. I just miss those like kind of like last few like years of just like being there with like the Briscoes and like the Kingdom is there and like War Machine is there and like when Adam Cole and those guys were there and Kevin was there and like I just kind of miss like just all those dudes in the locker room being in like one place where it's like, all right, a couple of times a month I'm gonna see Mark and Jay and we're gonna get to talk and things like that.
Did it
Absolutely.
feel different when you came back and then you had your match? Did the locker room feel a little different?
Different, yes, but not in like bad way. It was different. It's different people. So you're gonna have that different like vibe. Like I said, everyone once Ring of Honor kind of got purchased, and everyone kind of went their separate ways. Some people found different paths in other companies, things like that. So the people that were there, my last like 2 years, I'll say like during the COVID era, a lot of those people I don't get to see as often. Like I don't get to see people like Silas Young, for example, or like Brian Johnson, guys like Shane Taylor, they're there and I love Shane. I love like guys like Vinny Marseglia, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, they're all there. But someone like Silas or like Brian Johnson, or like PJ Black or like Dragon Lee, for example, they're not there and I don't get to see. So I just miss that. Like I just been seeing like everybody together. It's wrestling. It happens. We don't ever say bye forever. We just say bye until I see you next, and things change. But yeah, so I would say it's different, but again, not in a bad way, just it's different people. You're gonna have different vibes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So last week we had everybody's uncle, Bob Evans, on
Oh,
the
okay,
show.
okay.
Yeah, and he talked about you guys' time as a tag team. So tell us your experiences being a tag team with Uncle Bob and growing from that, from
Yeah.
being the little guy that everyone said, okay, you know what, we're gonna give the kid a chance, and then growing to your time to going to Japan and all the things that you've done from that point.
Yeah, tagging with Bob, that was my first like actual storyline in Ring of Honor. And that kind of got birthed by another thing. Some things in my career just happened by accident. That happened at an ROH tryout camp. They needed a tag team to wrestle two guys on one of the days, and me and Bob tagged up, and it ended up kind of like being a fun tag team that we did at one of the tryout camps. And Delirious was there. He was thinking like, oh, this might be like a good thing because they needed something for Bob to do because he was splitting away from Mike Ben and Maria, and they were kind of going off on their own. So they needed something for Bob to do, and then I wasn't doing anything, so it just kind of became a natural fit. And that was the first time I really had kind of a storyline to grow into instead of just random matches. So I really appreciate that. I learned a lot from Bob. He just helped me a lot with just like coming up with ideas. He was super creative, and that was like one of his first times like getting that like storyline. So he was so hungry and he wanted to make it work, and I wanted to make it work. And we had a really fun run as a team, and that led to an awesome feud that I love. I still think that was one of my favorite things I've done in my career is my feud with Bob. And I thought it was super different than anything that was happening in Ring of Honor at the time. And I was really happy that we got to tell that story. We got to tell, like me and Will Ferrara got to tell that story with Bob and Tim Hughes. And that led to me and Bob having a really fun match at Final Battle in, I believe, 2015 or 2016. And yeah, I learned a lot from Bob. Like he was always a fantastic mentor, not just for me, but for you, for everybody that came to those tryout
Mhm.
camps and just in general in that locker room. So yeah, Bob was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic.
Give